Shalom Aleichem, dear friends.
Aleichem shalom.
Yeshikoyach, everyone, for joining us tonight. As we're nearing the beautiful day of Rosh Chodesh Elul, Melech Basoda. There's no better way to greet the Melech Basoda than learning some Geschmack Agadata in the Gemara brochos, especially Agadata that has to do with Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim. Especially that it has to do with today's Hayom Yom. Okay. Hayom Kotzer Malachim Ruba is a very Geschmack Gemara that we're learning today, and also a shtickle of the Gemara that's Negei Lahalocha. So let's start in Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, the first of the medium lines. I'm going back a few lines just to keep it simple. So we start at a place that it's easy to find the place. The first line of the medium line, it says, Belev of Shalom, Rava Omer. Rava Omer. We said that after the Tefillah Shmoneh Esrei, there's a thing, Tachanun. And we said several reasons why we say it. That shouldn't be Tefillah Sekev, it shouldn't be just a regular Nuscha Tefillah. And so we have exactly a dozen different Nuschos, different Amiroim. We end up saying the 11th Nusach, the Nusach that is the Gemara says in the name of Mar Brei Ravina, which is really the last generation of Amiroim. Avinu V'Rabashi, the last ones. So, however, all the other ones end up being here, there, and everywhere that we say. Some are said the Minor Loshen, some are said the Tefillah before we bench the Chodesh, some are said Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and so on. Rav at the end of his davening, he would say like this: before I was born, I was nothing. I had no kadois, no chashivus. I'm nothing more than dust. After the person's misa. So because of this bittul that a person has towards the Eibishter, he says, number one, that we should be no more hate. I shouldn't sin. And the Mashachatosi lefanecha, and if I already sinned, so with those sins, Mashachatosi lefanecha, and the sins that I did sin, is erase with the abundance of your mercy, but not through Yisurim, pain, and terrible terrible sickness. The Gemara says, Rav Avnun Zuti used to say it on Yom Kippur. That's what he would say in Tefillah, because it sounds like a Lashon Vidu, and that's really what we do. We say in the Tefillah of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
What's the word Kaleh? What's the word Marek?
Marek is to clean. Meriku Shtifa. Meloshem Meriku Shtifa. To clean, to cleanse.
So clean the time?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the Chabad Nusach it's Machoik Berachem Acharabim. But in the Gemara the Nusach is Meroik. Meroik means to be memarik, to expunge, to take out. So Mephoshim ask, what kind of request is it to say a person doesn't deserve Yisurim, then why would Chas V'Shalom David should give him Yisurim? And if he deserves Yisurim, the Gemara says in Yuma, the Alter Rebbe brings it in the beginning of Igeres HaTshuva that there are other mitzvahs say V'asa Tshuva ein azazat shemoichelam loy. Mitzvahs loy to say he has to wait till Yom Kippur. And if Chas V'Shalom it's Kresus or Mrs. Bezdin, he has to wait for Tshuva plus Yom Kippur, Atoylen, and Yisurim Memarkin. The Memarik, the Alter Rebbe means Gomer Makapora, where the Alter Rebbe explains. Over there also the Nusach is Marik, Mimarik. The Alter Rebbe brings it from the Lashon Meriku Shtifa. So what is the request over here? So one answer, which is the best, which is a very nice answer, the Gemara says in Erchin, the Gemara says that if a Yid, he put his hand in his pocket to get a sela and he realized he didn't have the sela in his pocket, that's called Yisurim. So there's all kinds of levels in Yisurim. So Yid says, even if though Chas v'Sholem, the Yid says that he deserves to have Yisurim in order to be Memarik the Kapora. So he says that he asks the Eibishter that it should be because of Rachamach Harabim, it shouldn't be Yisurim v'Chaloim Roin. It should be Yisurim, easy Yisurim. He needs a dime or a nickel. He needs a quarter for the meter. Puts his hand in his pocket. Oh, I thought I had a quarter in my pocket. Oh, you have to take $1. Just to go to a store. The guy says, no quarter. Okay, he goes to the other place. Okay, thank you for the quarters. He puts it into the thing, and he puts a little piece of paper. Oh, such Yisurim. But okay, but the Eibishter counts it as Yisurim, as is a Gemara Nerchen. So that's what we're asking the Rabbanu Shalom. If Chas v'Shalom we deserve to have Yisurim, that should be Memarik our avoidness. It should be Yene Yisurim. That should be Yene Sort Yisurim.
I have a question, Rabbi.
Yeah.
In a human relationship, if somebody does somebody wrong to somebody,
Yeah.
before they become friends, he has to apologize and go through a lot of things like that. Why is it different in Tefillah, where we offer praise first and ask for forgiveness later?
Isn't that the way we talk to people too? If you want to apologize, first you call up, you say, hello, how are you? I appreciate so much that you took my call. And then you start getting into business. I mean, that's what Chazal say, that a person goes in front of a melech, so he doesn't right away start talking business. First he's mishabeach the melech, then he talks whatever he needs to talk, and then he thanks the melech. The same thing here. And the truth is, the slichas that we say was built like a tefillah. It was built with the same thing like a tefillah.
Thank you.
Okay. Sometimes a person has something Yisurim Kalim, and then we ask the Rebbeinu Shalom that these Yisurim Kalim should be, sometimes a person has Yisurim Kalim, and we ask the Rebbeinu Shalom that please, that these Yisurim Kalim should be in the place of Yisurim and Chaloim Roim. Okay. I was just away for Shabbos, and we have this big truck that we have. So we took the truck, and then on the way we said, "Oi, why do we take the truck? We have this little car. It drives so much easier, especially when you drive up the mountains. This truck is very hard to krich up the mountains." Okay, whatever. Who cares? This vehicle, that vehicle. On the way back, I'm driving down the Taconic. And all of a sudden, boom! I didn't know what's going on. I look in the rear view mirror, and I see a deer is flying. So later, when I pulled over in the side of the road, I looked the front of my car, and I saw the zazets in the front of my car. Now, if anyone knows my white vehicle, you'll look in the front, you'll see a little dent. But that's only because this is an unbelievable truck. It's not like a stretched minivan. It's a truck, Shabbat trucks. So Nebuch, that deer went flying Lamisa, but I said to I can't believe it. What the Rebbeinu Shalom just showed us, a mamish, it's like Yisurim Kalim, like a little dent it's a fender bender. Had we been driving in our regular car, in the other car, this leased car, which I said it's a shod, it's leased. We could put on the mileage on the leased car, not on the truck we own. A deer goes flying into your car. I mean, you don't usually get away with a fender bender. It's just that, just the way this truck is built. It's a truck. So I said, wow. So the Rebbeinu Shalom showing us that Yisurim Kalim, it's a little fender bender, a little thing. And Yidden should go l'chaim tovim aruchim u'lashalom. So that's what we say to the Rebbeinu Shalom, that should be the extent of the Yisurim that we have, that we couldn't find a quarter to put into the meter. There's another beautiful pshat from the Nefesh HaChaim, from Chaim Volozhiner. It's a little musari, but it's a very nice pshat. He says that if a person chas v'shalom sees a child has injury, A child breaks a bone, and you run with the child to the hospital, and you have to get stitches. You know how that happens. Those things only happen out of Shabbos Bein Hashmashos. You know what I mean? All fathers here, as you remember with kids, Avtzalachas, that's when it happens. So then they're putting stitches on the baby, and the baby screaming and yelling. The hospital is shaking. The walls of the hospital are shaking, and you feel bad, but you don't feel that bad because Baruch Hashem, now you have a surgeon that's doing a good job, and okay, a few minutes will be over and it'll be good. But the ikar tsar of the father is when the child has the wound, Rahman al-Islam. You're nervous and you don't know what are they going to tell you in the hospital, Chas v'shalom, how the damage is. So the nefesh chaim, a yid Chas v'shalom, when he does an aveda, sometimes doesn't feel the unbelievable tsar of the actual chet, but the yid feels the tsar from the yisurim that are there to memarek the chet. But if a yid feels tsar because the Eibush is tsar, yid says that my tsar is not that I'm in pain right now, but that's a symptom. The fact that I'm in pain right now is because the Eibush is trying to put stitches on me and trying to cleanse me. So Mamela, I'm b'tzar that the Shechina is because that's when the yid does a chet, the pagam is not only his neshama, it's all the olamas, and it's a big tsar to the Eibush. So now that a yid has a tsar, he realizes that the Eibishter is now busy being geroichet as tzoyas b'nois tzion. So he feels bad for the Shechina, the tsar ha-Shechina, Shechinta begalusa. He feels bad for the Shechina. And with this, he takes away that the tsar, that he shouldn't have any more tsar. Begashmis, they shouldn't have any more tsar. Because he's mitzvah not on his yisurim. He's mitzvah on the fact that the Eibishter is mitzvah because of his yisurim. And from this, he takes away that Taka should be nimchel as avonis, and he shouldn't have any yisurim. I think it is that, like I said, the Eibishter should give that going into this new year, and that the extent of our yisurim should be that we couldn't find, that we had a little fender bender, or that we couldn't find the quarter to put into the meter, and otherwise we should have ksivach samatavah shana tevim sukkah, begashmis beruchnas avonas ayachayim zayna revicha.
Isn't the Alter Rebbe bringing against the children these days that Isurim Mamarkin, if somebody said that he has a lot of Isurim, he should be dead because it's actually cleaning him up.
Right. You think about the fact that the Eibush is mean misasek with the Yid to cleanse him. Right.
It's kind of like you change a diaper from a baby and you wipe him. He's crying in that moment because forever, but at the same time he be happy that you clean.
Right. Okay, yeah, Amos. Sagt die Gemara weiter, Marbre der Ravina, Marbre der Ravina, when he had finished the davening of Shemon Esrei, he would say Tachnunim, and this was the Nusach. And this is really the Nusach that we use, more or less. Please guard my tongue from saying anything ra. And also guard that guard my tongue and my lips from speaking things that are ra, and all those that are mekalal me, I should keep quiet. I should keep quiet. And I should be like dust, bittul. So what's the connection of the two things? When a person is trains himself not to speak ra at all, and people that are mekalal him, he keeps quiet. So this, he trains himself to be bebitl v'nafshikav l'koltia. And in that schus, as we spoke about this in the shir last week, in the schus of the yid having bitl, that makes him a keli that the Torah should be able to sit in him and the mitzvah should be able to sit in him. Because the bitl makes a person a keli for the kedusha of the Torah and kedusha of the mitzvah to sit in him very nicely. Another pshat is that Tosfos says, "B'nafshik offer l'keltia ma offer in kabel kli lo'ilam." Kain yirotzen shazari lo yichla lo'ilam k'mashem b'vayaz acher kafar ha'oretz. The Rashi says also the same thing as the Rashi and Tosfos say the same thing here. And that nafshik offer is not the asking the Eibishter in a bittul faket. He's asking the Eibishter that the Yid should be as strong as V'hoya Zaracha Kafar Oretz. And those are my fortunes. Say at the end of the day, the dust always wins, because at the end doesn't matter. A person steps on the dust, but what happens after 120? The dust steps on him. Okay, weiter. And we say V'tzatzileni, please save me from everything that could go wrong. If it's Pegara, Yetzera, Ishara, what's a Ishara? Because it could be his wife is a tzaddikas, but maybe Chas v'sholom, his wife will pass away and then have to marry Ishara. So you should save him from all these things. Makol, Roas, Misarakshis, Love of the Olam, and all things that are Mizdamen, all Roas, that they each should be protected. And if there were those that are thinking raw against me, against the Yid, is Meheda even before they did anything. As soon as it's just in their mind, the Eibusher should turn around and destroy their eights and to be makalkol their machshava. That the words of my saying should be l'rotzen for the Eibusher, the Hegin Libe, and everything I'm thinking should be lefanecha in front of the Eibusher. Hashem tzuri v'gili, the Eibusher is my rock and my redeemer. There's an interesting machloikas that he's showing him here that the Rajba brings. And this is something that's very, very negei l'alocha, which this is going to be, the rest of the Gemara today is going to be mostly agadata. And, but this is very, very, very negei l'alocha. There's a shayla machloikas here that Rajba brings that it sounds from what we said here from Mar B'rei Deravina, that Yir Lotz Imri Fegel Fnach Hashem Tzuri V'Goyli is the last thing you said after the kind of tzor. But if he says that Ravid says that no, you say it before the kind of tzor. Because the Gemara says that why do we say Yir Lotz Imri Fegel Fnach Hashem Tzuri V'Goyli? Because David HaMelech said it after the 18th kapitel of Tehillim. Really, the Gemara says the first and the second kapitel of Tehillim are really one. And before the 19th kapitel, which is really the 18th kapitel of Tehillim, finishes Yir Lotz Imri Fegel Fnach Hashem Tzuri V'Goyli. And that's keneged the chai brochos and Shemona Esrei, and therefore also Shemona Esrei finishes with Yir L'Rotzen. So Yir L'Rotzen is a part of Shemona Esrei. Is a part of Shemona Esrei. So first you finish Shemona Esrei, Yir L'Rotzen Refi, and then you say your Tachanunim, which is a separate thing. And but the Rajba says no. From here in the Gemara we see that Yir L'Rotzen came later. The Emes of the Noid Yehuda says I don't understand that either. I'm sorry, the Rajba. We have 12 Amoraim that had a special nusach. Only one out of the 12. It says that he finished off by saying Yir L'Rotzen. It's mashma fakeret that everyone said Yir L'Rotzen first, and maybe even Mar B'rei Deravina said Yir L'Rotzen first. It's just that at the end of L'Kain Tzor, he says V'chol Achoshim Alay Ro Meira Hofer Atzosa Mekalkol Machshavtam, that the Eibishter should be Mekalkol, even the Machshava of the Rishayim against the Yid Eibishter should be Mekalkol. So we're saying Me'ein Chasim Samach L'Chsima that, however, but the Yidalach. Even if I just thought about something that I need before I even said it, Hashem Tzuri V'Goyali, the Eibusher should accept it, B'rotzen, even before I managed to say it. In other words, the opposite of a Choshim Alayro. Choshim Alayro, as soon as they think Davaro against a Yid, the Eibusher says, Hofer Matzos and Mekalkol Machshavtam. And by the Yid, before he gets a chance to say anything, he's just thinking something, a good thing. Halavai, I had a little more dollars to give tzedakah. Halavai, I had a little more koiches to learn another daf Gemara. Halavai, I had another yechaylos to learn another Perek Tanya. And maybe she gives them a little more koyach. Okay, so Lamaisa, this is very negeya. Lamaisa, this shaila is very negeya. The bottom line is that the Alter Rebbe says that's talking the minig today that we say twice Yir L'Rotzen. We say once Yir L'Rotzen, like the Ravid says, and a second time Yir L'Rotzen at the end of a kind of tzor. We say twice Yir L'Rotzen. So the Alter Rebbe says that the way the Alter Rebbe, it's very complicated how you understand the machloikas. The Alter Rebbe says if according to the opinion that says there has to be like the Ravid, Yir L'Rotzen is the end of Shemona Esrei, because you can't say anything. You can't say Tachanunim before that. And Kolshkin, you're not allowed to say Adovisha B'Kedusha. You're not allowed to end Kedusha, Baruch Kaddish Kedusha, Amen. You're not allowed to. Just like in middle of Shemona Esrei. You're in middle of Shemona Esrei. You can't stand in front of the Melech, Malchum Malchum HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Can't make any hefsek. But once you say Yir L'Rotzen, Then you could answer Kaddish Kedusha Baruch Hu, you could say Elokai Netzoyer. But even then, says the Alter Rebbe, you can't stop talk Dvarim B'Teilim. Because until you're Oike Raglav, you're still standing in front of the Melech. So, but you're allowed to say Tachanunim, and you're allowed to say Davasha B'Kedusha, which is Kaddish, Kedusha, to answer Amen and Kaddish, Kedusha, Baruch Hu, Amen after Kela Kaddish and Shema Keleinu, and so on. But the other opinion says, no, Mishkefeilach, you could say Lakai Netzar before you Lerotzen. Why? Because the Chazal said that every one of the brochos, if you say Me'ena brocha, before you say Baruch Hashem Reifei Chaylam Yisrael, you could say, ask for any chayla you have in your house, any friend, any relative, any yid that you want to ask for. So same thing over here. Before you say Yir Lerotzen, even though Yir Lerotzen is part of Shmoneh Esrei, it doesn't matter. You could say Tachanunim. And the Alter Rebbe, here's the key thing that the Alter Rebbe says. This is the way that Alter Rebbe, this is the pashtus, the words of the Ramah, but this is the way the Alter Rebbe learns it. It's a pella. Once you're already allowed to be mafsik, before you're allowed to say Elokai Netzar and that all the Tachanunim, once you're already stopped, you're allowed to already be mafsik for every kol davar shebekdusha. You're already allowed to be mafsik for kol davar shebekdusha. You're already allowed to be mafsik kol davar shebekdusha. But the shaila is why? I understand why. Okay, you're telling me that even though you're in Shmoneh Esrei, but the din is in Shmoneh Esrei that imba loyma b'seif kol b'seif kol bracha me'ena bracha oimer. And you tell me in general at the end of Shmoneh Esrei before like you l'ratzim rifi, you could say tachanunim, which is that b'chlolos is me'en the whole Shmoneh Esrei. Fine, but what does it mean once you're already saying Elokai Netzar and Tachanunim? You can already be mafsik for kol davar shebekdusha. What's up, shot? So the Tehillah David, which is a terrific sefer, is a Mordik Gon. David Urtenberg is a Rabbi Berditcher, and extensively his sefer is really mostly a Pirush in the Alter Rebbe. So he brings a Rai. He says that there is a Rashi, and that's also the din in Shulchan Aruch Siman Kuf Gimel. The Rashi says if the Gemara says that if a person has to be mafiach, so he should take 3 steps back and be mafiach. And then when the smell goes down, he should say a special that we are only feeble human beings, so on. L'poil, that's not our minhag these days to take 3 steps because then it would be a busha. Anyway, but that's the din of the Gemara. Rashi says, since he already took 3 steps, so since he was already mafsik in the tefillah, so he could say already whatever that whole tefillah, which is not a chelik of Shmoneh Esrei. So same thing here. Since you're already staying Elokai Netzar, which is divrei tachanunim, you can already say kol davar shebekdusha. And he says, but that's a pella. In any brocha, I'm allowed to be moisif, like Shema Keleinu. At the end of Shema Keleinu, I can say anything, any tefillah from the Eibishter. So while I'm saying divrei tachanunim, if the chazan is saying kedusha, I'm allowed to answer. L'chayda not. If you tell me yes, that would be a moedik chidush.
What's the meaning?
Obviously, the Alter Rebbe holds that this is different. At the end of Shmoneh Esrei, it's not really me'ain. The fact that we were mekel it's a stronger kula. So
why is the main Yeshmei Rabbah less than the Tachnunim?
Why should it be less than any Tachanunim?
Let it be my Tachnunim. I'm saying a main Yeshmei Rabbah.
You're asking a good question. Taka Azoi, in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, if you look in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Yud Ches, in the bottom, the Lechem Aponim Mizgeres HaShulchan, he has a big pilpul about this, and he says, why shouldn't you answer any Amen? He doesn't go as far as you're saying, which is Baruch Hu, Baruch Shmoi. He says every Amen, and then he says, we paskin that in middle of Shema and Birchas Kiddush Shema, you're allowed to say only Davar Shebekdusha, but there are opinions that say you're allowed to say every Amen. So l'alocha you're allowed to say every Amen. He doesn't go as far as saying Baruch Hu, Baruch Shmoi. But the Alter Rebbe doesn't hold that way. The Alter Rebbe holds that you can only mafsik for Davar Shebekdusha. So Daf Mazogan, that the biur of the Tila David is not really what the Alter Rebbe really had in mind. And what did he have in mind? I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what's Takid Hagdora. But it's clear that the Alter Rebbe holds that it's only for a davar shebegedusha. And even according to the first opinion, that you say already before, and that's what we do. We say twice. We say before Lakansar and once after. Still, the Alter Rebbe holds that you're only allowed to answer davar shebegedusha. Why? Why? Because it's you're still standing in front of the melech, and it's also afilu loruk is also is is kolshken ladabed varim acherim, so only davar shebegedusha. I guess he doesn't hold that Baruch V'Shmai has the same diged of tachanunim. It's not tachanunim. You're saying a shvach to the Eibishter, but this is not divrei tachanunim that are shaykh to the point out that Rebbe is making is that you're oimed lifnei melech. It's just that in the Shmoneh Esrei, b'shas you're saying Shmoneh Esrei, you're oimed lifnei melech. You're not allowed to say any mafsik any because you're talking to the melech. But after you said Elokai Netzor, it's as if you said goodbye. You finished talking to the melech, but you're still standing in front of the melech. So if you're answering a davar shebegedusha, which is praising the Eibishter in the strongest way, because it's a davar shebegedusha you're allowed to. But Baruch Shmei, even though it's a very nice thing, but it's not a davar shebegedusha, so it's also. You hear what I'm saying? Why it's different than tachanunim?
Not 100%.
Okay. Mestama felt in Avona felt in Asbore. Now I hear your question is a good question. But anyway, the Alter Rebbe holds, even according to the opinion, I just want to repeat, Lamaisa, even according to the opinion that we say Alakai in the Tzor after Yilaroth. So really, you finished. Shmoneh is finished. You finished Shmoneh, you say Yilaroth and Mivegin with Hashem Tzor finished. Alter Rebbe holds, you finish talking to the Melech, but you're still standing in front of the Melech. You're oimed lifnei Melech. And therefore, it's also to talk Dvarim Achedim. And the only thing that's mutter to say is Dvarim Shebegedusha, which is Kadesh Kedusha Baruch Hu, basically Amen from Ata Kodesh and Shema Kiloim. Okay. So to summarize, we have here Machlokes in this Yil Lorotzim Mirifiv Engel V'Nach Hashem Tzura V'Goyli, a Machlokes Rishonim between the Ravid and the Rashba. According to the Ravid, we say it right after Shmoneh Esrei, because that's a chelik from Shmoneh Esrei, and you shouldn't be making any hefsek and divrei tachanunim or nothing. The Rashba holds no. You're allowed to say divrei tachanunim just like in every bracha. You're allowed to say me'enoi say bracha. So therefore, Yil Lorotzim Mirifiv is after L'kai Netzor. Our minig is that we say twice, once before L'kai Netzor, once after L'kai Netzor. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch in the bottom, the Lechem Aponim and Miskeres HaShulchan hold that you're allowed to say every Amen. The Alter Rebbe holds you're only allowed to say Davar Shebegedusha, which is Baruch Kadosh Baruch Hu Kedusha and Amen after Kela Kodesh and Shema Kilayim. Okay, let's continue in the Gemara.
Going to the Alter Rebbe, that the year or the last one, this is finished Monaseh. How we could say our psukim before we say it's the show?
The Alter Rebbe was talking about the Alter Rebbe. Oh, okay, I hear. Okay. You say you're only allowed to say Davar Shebegedusha. So how come before Yil L'Rotzen we say? Yeah, no, we say before. We say before the second.
Before the second one.
Right.
Right. After the Yil L'Rotzen you say L'Kai Netzor, and then before you say Shalom, you say the psukim.
Right. I hear. I hear. I guess because it's a davar kavua, it becomes like tachanunim. The emphasis is, what is it? Why are we really saying it? It's the ultimate of tachanunim. Huh?
Why they say the pasuk from the person that moment?
No, why do we say it? What's the reason?
Your last thing you say to the melech, your pasuk.
No, the Svarim brings, because the person, when they come Lamaila, he's such pachad that they ask him what's his name, and he forgets his name. So when he says but Torah, a person doesn't forget Torah. If a person is going to remember the pasuk that he says, so then then he'll remember his name. When he'll remember the pasuk, he'll remember his name.
And we say also the pasuk.
The person is asking tachanunim for the Eibishter that b'yoyim adin that he should be remembered l'toiva. That's why we also say the Rebbes, because we want a tzaddik to be there on our side. We want the Rebbe to help us out. We want to have a defender. In Shemaim they have defenders, but they're the public defenders. They don't know. They're anyway. They're paid for the job. They don't get. They're not very gewaldic defenders, maybe. But so we want to call our own a private defender. We want to call that the Rebbes will come once again. So we say remember, we remember the Rebbe's name. But then we have to remember our own names. So we say our own capital. So that goes all into Geder of Tachanun.
Rabbi, in a shul it doesn't say Tachanun like every day, and you're there usually say it. Should you skip your Tachanun or should you just say it on your own?
Why shouldn't you say? Why it's not making machlokes.
The shul doesn't.
But Hashem can't say alone. Hashem, unless you say.
Hashem is a separate thing. We spoke about it once. Kaf Chaim says you can say it, whatever. I don't know if that's Menik Chabad, but if you're not standing in front of the teva, you're not the shliach tzibur. Why you're not making any machlokes? You're doing your own thing. Why you're not making any machlokes here? Why shouldn't you? Okay, let's continue. Look, the Gemara, Reb Sheshes was sitting and fasting. After Eve Daven, this is the words he would say. And Shulchan Aruch brings a target that after the kind of tzor, the person that fasts should say it. Well, the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring in the siddur. B'zman shebeiz hamikdash kayim, odem choyte makriv korban ve'im akrivim mimenu ela chel b'damei. What goes on the mizbeach? The chel v'dam, and that's a kapora. It atones for the person's sin. Now that we don't have the Beis Hamikdash, shafte b'tainis in this mat chel b'dami. I sat and I fasted, so I got a little less chel v'dam. Yerotz l'fanach shechel b'dam shenismat. That because I was nismat a little bit my chel v'dam, so because of the fast, kili krafti l'fanach mizbeach as if I went on the mizbeach. That it's saying in the Eibishter b'meratzim ikpshteitzach. That the Iker Inyan Tshuva, like the Alter Rebbe explains again, as the Tshuva is the Tshuva itself. This is an extra thing, and on top of it, that a person should be mamat a little bit in the Chel V'dam. That's for Gemara Kapor. The Alter Rebbe says that a person that can't fast, so a person puts his whole neshama into the money he earns. When a person gives that tzedakah, that's also kilo is mamat from Chel V'dam. So Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, when he finished to make a siyum in the Sefer of Iyuv, this is what he would say. So if other moments say every person at the end of the day is going to die. No one gets out of here alive. Every behemoth at the end, they're going to shecht it. Why are they going to wait till it dies? Might as well shecht it and then use the meat. So luck is the person that doesn't squander his life. He grows up with Torah. He's always toil. His toil is in Torah. He's toiling in Torah, and he makes the nachas b'Eibishter his whole life. Is like that's the hemshech what the Gemara said before. It says takir b'leich nechoyach. Chazal said nachas ruch lefonu shamayim nasa etzayni. So he makes the nachas ruch from the Eibishter. That's his whole in his life. The Meforshim say a lot of things. I just think it's a davar poshut that what the Gemara is saying is like this. Rabbi Yochanan said after learning the Sefer of Iyuv, which Rashi says that what's the whole inyan of Sefer Iyuv? What's the Sefer Iyuv? Is he was nifta b'shem tov. Was nifta b'shem tov. So the bottom line is like this. In Iyuv also there was a discussion. Why is a person alive and what's the whole tachlis of a person's life? A debate between Iyuv and his friends and so on. So Rabbi Yochanan said like this. At the end of the day, the behemoth works really hard. But it doesn't matter how hard the behemoth works. When the balabas sees that the behemoth is gespielt, shecht the behemoth, right? So what did the behemoth get from all its hard work? 0. So he's saying a person, the same thing a human being. A person is going to work really hard. He's going to build an empire. He's going to build Oisha v'chovet. What is he going to have from it? 0. So oy bazoi ashre mi shegodol batoyre v'amol batoyre v'esenachas ruach liyotzrei. That lucky is the person that has something out of his whole life, that he has something to show for. That he has godol batoyre and amol batoyre, and he made nachas ruach to the Eibishter, says what life was valuable. And also there's godol b'shem tev and nit b'shem tev me'olam, because he made a kiddush Hashem, v'olav v'mishloim, tov shem Hashem and tov. That a good name is better than Shem and Tov, because the Yom Mavis, we know what a person accomplished. We still don't know what the person is going to accomplish. Okay. And there's a beautiful tshuva in the Igris Moshe, where he discusses, like, look, it sounds like you can make a siyum, not only from the Gemara says that you make a siyum on a Masechta. And the poskim accept that this is Masechta B'Shas. How about if you finish up a sefer in Tanakh? L'chayr not. Over here is mashma that you finish the sefer in the Tanakh, and he would make a celebration. Have a Messiah sefer diyuv. Halchi Amar Kilu. He made a celebration. So he says that could be the Birchen was different because the Birchen learned every ois v'koitz and darshan that. Every ois v'koitz in Iyuv, the halacha and the agadata, that's in every word in Sefer Iyuv. So if you learn it that way, then you make a siyum when you finish even a Sefer in Tanakh. Also, he says any group of people that spend a long time learning the Masasik, a long time in Dvar Mitzvah, they should make a siyum at the end with the Messiah.
What's the problem making Sama Messiah?
What's the problem? It's not a problem, but the shaila is it's considered a sudas mitzvah. Nafkamina is lagabe
9 days.
Lagabe the 9 days, or lagabe a person that has a neder, is not going to eat chaveis unless he's going to eat it as sudas mitzvah. That's an nafkamina.
Sure.
Also, the nafkamina is Yiddish geld. Should you be sending home? Should the Rebbe be sending home a note with the kinderlach that they should bring bags of popcorn and potato chips?
I love I every day.
The Rebbe emphasized that every time we do a Siyum Rambam, we should do a
Sudas mitzvah, right? Okay, Zog the Gemara. A whole bunch of things which are very geschmack. This mamish ahead of us is a moedige geschmack Gemara. A half a dozen Amoraim, which have meragla bepume. Meragla bepume. There was something that they always said. It's a very like sort of Pirkei Avos style. What we're having here, this Pirkei Avos is from the Balei HaMishnah, from the Tanoim, and here is from the Amoraim. Mostly the Amoraim. Meragla pume de Rebbe Meir. That Rebbe Meir would always say. It was something that was meragla bepume. It was very. Rashi says, "Dober zeh rogil befiv." He would always say it. That a person should know like this. That the Rebbeinu Shalom tells a person, "Gemor b'chalavavcha b'chanafshcha l'dasas drache v'lishke dal dalse toirasi." The Eibishter betzach b'yidin. Please learn Torah with the entire heart. You should try to know me and also learn Torah. The Mashal says, what do you mean? You should try to know me and also learn Torah. How do you know me without learning Torah? So he says there's two things. There's Ladasas Deroche, which is to know the Eibishter. Basically, learn Chassidus. Learn Pnimius Torah, to know the Eibishter. And then through that, you'll be oila to be shoyked al dalse teirose. Or the other way, that a person has to learn to know the Eibishter, but not stam through philosophy, the pusta zachen, has to be through Torah. And it shouldn't, chas v'shalom, when a person's trying to know the ways of the Eibishter, it shouldn't be menuged to the Darkei Torah. Netzor Torase Belibcha. The Eibusha says, please keep the Torah very deep in your heart. My Yiddish should be in front of your eyes. Keep your mouth clean from speaking things of chait. And cleanse yourself. You shouldn't have any Hashem of. And then, if you'll do this, I'll be with you everywhere. I think you could plural in every word, and what's the connection of one word and the other word. But the overarching thing, I think, what it made here is a very strong thing. We know that Meir had many nisyonis in his life, and so you ask, what's one of the strongest thing that a person would have? A person always thought to himself that the Rebbeinu Shalom betzach b'mirachim. The Rebbeinu Shalom betzach b'mirachim. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, please, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, I need you. I need you. Please. But he knew that the Eibishter betzach ben, the Eibishter says, and if you will do it, I'll be with you. For sure, that would be a very strong power that a Yid should be able to overcome every Nisayon. Let's continue. The Rabban of Yavne, they would have a different member. They would always say. They would say like this: I, the Talmud Chacham, who is Oisik B'Torah, is Beria. The Chaveri, the Amayoritz, which is doing his malach, is Beria. So what's the difference? Rashi and Toysa says, look, in Toysa, Ani Beria Chaveri Beria Kolami Yeshle Leif Tamanel Hafchem B'Tev L'Ra. He has the brain to be able to see the difference from Tov L'Ra. Ani b'malachti, I'm doing my malacha, and where's my malacha learning Torah? It's an easy job. Who? B'malachti basadi is a harder job. So l'chayre, I have an easy job. He's a hard job. Ani mashkim b'malachti. I get up early in the morning to do my job to learn Torah. Who mashkim malachti? Shem shreinu is gadol malachti. Just like he's not trying to take away my malacha. Ani enim is gadol malachti. I'm not trying to take away his malacha. Okay, so obviously, what's going on over here? So there's three pshat. Let's first start with Rashi. Rashi says, "Ani oisik b'toyre beria, v'chein chaveri amaret beria. Ani malachti bir koloim anoicha malachti b'malachti." And misgader means misgad alitvusum nasi. I'm not trying to chap away his umnas. He's not trying to. Shema toymer adini she'enu misgader b'malachti. Maybe he's right. Why should he take away my malacha? A little bit of a dreg. Actually saying, maybe he's right. What's the pshat? The Gemara saying, maybe he's right. Why should he try to take over my place? I'm the Talmud Chacham, he's the Amoritz. So I could learn an unbelievable amount of Kamas Veichos in a day. If he was sat in the base medrash, he couldn't learn that much. So he wouldn't have that much schar. So therefore, he's right for not joining me in the base of Medrash, says the Talmud Chacham. So no, the answer is wrong. Because Shoninu Memgelerin in the Mishnah and the Menachos Echad Amar B'Echat Amamet B'Vat Shechav and Libu V'Shamayim. Doesn't matter if it's look at the korban, if he brings a lot or a little, as long as Libu V'Shamayim. So therefore, if he was Oisik B'Torah, his schar would be just as big as the Talmud Chacham. Elamai, he's not Isaac with Torah, so he's a fool. That's the Pashut Pshat, the way Rashi and Tosfos learn it. So according to this Pshat, we're talking about the Chachamim of Yavne. I would add, Yavne was in a very difficult time after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. And they were trying to put the Inyan of Limud Torah on the pedestal. And they were trying to be Machshav the Inyan of Limud Torah. So we're saying, listen, hear ye, hear ye. Learning Torah is easier than going out and working in the field. It's geschmacker than going out in the field. So everyone come learn Torah in the Beis Medrash. You're going to say that Talmidei Chachamim are going to get a lot of schar because they learn a lot. But you're not going to get a lot of schar because you're not going to end up learning so much. No. Echad Amar Echad Amamid He came to Beis Medrash to be learning Torah, to come close, because the Tanya says to learning Torah, he becomes closer to Eibishter. He becomes Echad Yochid and Miyuchid with Eibishter through learning Torah, and that's why I learn Torah. So what's the difference if you're learned in 10 hours, you learn one daf or 10 daf? In those times that you're learning Torah, you're becoming Echad Yochid Miyuchid. That the person's head is becoming one with Torah. So the person becomes Ein Zach mit Torah, Ein Shtik Torah, becomes one with the Eibishter. So what's the difference if you're Machadish bigger Chidushim, lesser Chidushim? What you learned Agadat, you learned the Ein Yaakov, you learned the Gemara, you learned the whole Shas, a half a Shas or a quarter of Shas. What's the difference? When you're learning Torah, if it's the Indian is Liber Lashamayim, to become Chad mit the Eibishter, Kula Chad with the Eibishter, what's the difference if you learned more or less? If you learned Halacha V'Agoda, you learned Chassidus Nigla. What's the difference? Okay, that's one pshat. Other pshat is the Aruch, which is the opposite of Rashi. They were saying just the opposite. They were saying that Mizgader is Maloshin Gedulo Siron. Just like I shouldn't feel bigger than the Baal Malach that goes out to work, and the Baal Malach shouldn't feel bigger than I. That there's no reason why we should be machzik toiva to ourselves to feel bigger, that's the Talmidei Chachamim bigger than the Amei Haaretz. There's no reason. There's no reason. On the same vein, the Peter Sharif and the Ein Yaakov says a similar, but much in a very gishmaka way. He says the pshat like this. He says like this. There is Klal Yisrael is made of two types of Yidden. Ani v'chaveirei, me and my friend. What's my friend? The pshat, my friend. Yisachar Zvul. Yisachar Zvul. Yisachar Zvul. Ani enim mizgader b'malachti, v'hun enim mizgader b'malachti. You know, sometimes you have people, they come to ask you a shaila. I'm telling you, just like, you know, but they're not asking a shaila. They're giving you a teretz. They want to know if you also know. They're trying to show you the Zem aggressive Tamat Chochem V'derov. So the Chavinu Yavna said, listen, pal. You have to realize that Klal Yisrael are partners. Yisachar and Zvulun are partners. The Talmid Chacham should try not to say, ich bin a größer Versteher. I'll tell you what's better, Trump or Biden. I'm going to tell you which business and what. And ich bin euch der Talmid Chacham and euch der größer businessman. You stay in the Beis Medrash. Answer Shailas and Halacha and Agoda, stay in the Beis Medrash. And the Zvulun, we tell him, you don't try to be misguided over the Oisik Batoira, and the Oisik Batoira, you don't try to be misguided over the Baal Oisik. V'shalom al Yisrael. V'shalom al Yisrael. Because they're both shkulim, they're both partners, they're both chavedim. They both need each other, and they share the schusim. Shema Toimar Animar Bevumamit. That my schus is bigger, his schus is smaller. No. As long as the partnership is Libe Lashamayim, we're doing it, but Libe Lashamayim, so it makes no difference. Makes no difference. It makes no difference. He's the Zvulun, and one is the Yisachar. One is mostly learning Torah and doing very little in Yonah Elam Haza. The other one is doing a lot of in Yonah Elam Haza and doing a little bit of learning Torah. But this is Chaveda. We're Chavedim. And therefore, there's no reason I should feel bigger than him and he should feel bigger than me. Because as long as Libu L'Shamayim, we're partners and we're 50-50 in everything. Abaya used to say always like this, a person should always be cunning when it comes to Yireh Shamayim. A person should always be cunning when it comes to Yireh Shamayim. Why do you have to be cunning to Yireh Shamayim? The Yetzer Hara is cunning to try to trick you. Like I spoke about this once. So how you be cunning in Yireh Shamayim? Like Shmuel Munkis was cunning in Yireh Shamayim. Like the story they said, there was one of the Chavedim the Maggid came to Alter Rebbe, and it was in Tisha B'Av, and Shmuel Munkis was, he was making it gemacht, Gavar from Berelach, he was making trouble. So the Chavedim Alter Rebbe said, because of such people, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. The Alter Rebbe didn't say anything. But later they went to talk, and they went into the field for quiet, and he saw that there was a person sitting in a pit, and he was crying. Bechias Neiros. So the Alter Rebbe told him, Taka, such people, because of them, there'll be a Mashiach Tzidkenu, there'll be the Binyan Abayis. Alter Rebbe said, my friend, this is the same guy that you saw before, that you said because of him will be the Churban Abayis. So Shmuel Munkes was like a guy that was Orim B'Yida. He was cunning in his Yiddish Shemayim. He tried to be Malbishit in his funny business, in his monkey business. B'chlal, that's the Indian, the way Yid has to be Orim B'Yida Shemayim. If you're going to tell you it's audit right now, we're making a big achlota, where that's it, but you're just not going to get there. 5 minutes. We're learning now 5 minutes. Phone call, everything out. 5 minutes we'll learn. So Geschmack, another 5 minutes. Saducha shot side with Gelenin. Not going to tell you it's hard. Now, L'Shem, you're going to learn for an hour. First, make a little phone call. There's an Odom B'Yida. To be Odom B'Yida. There's a Moededik word from a Chava from the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe had the Chava, the Pinchas, the Balafloa, who was from the oldest Talmidim of the Mezitcher Maggid. He says a beautiful word, the opposite word of what I just said. It says that Yosef says, he's bragging. He says, I'm a Yiddish Shemayim. Yosef Atzadik is starting to brag. Okay, he was now, they didn't know he's Yosef Atzadik. They thought he was Mishnah Lamelech to Melech Mitzrayim. But what kind of bragging? So he says, Azoi, everything a Yid does, Hakol B'dei Shemayim chutz Yiddish Shemayim. Yiddish Shemayim comes from a Yid itself. So therefore, a person should never brag about his doing mitzvahs. Like the pasuk says, "L'cho Hashem achosed k'atam t'shalom lishka maseyu." Why is it a chesed the Eibishter rewards a Yid for his ma'aseh mitzvahs? Because who gave you the koyach to do the mitzvahs? The Eibishter. So why should he give you a reward also? Elamai, it's a chesed. All the mitzvahs that a Yid does is from the Eibishter. There's one mitzvah that the Yid has to do himself, and that's the Inyan of Chodesh Elul, to blow shofar, to have a charodah. Yiddish Shemayim is Hakol B'dei Shemayim chutz Yiddish Shemayim. That comes from the Eibishter. So that you could brag about. What are you bragging? What are you bragging? Give tzedakah, the Eibishter gave you the money. Skilanta Dav Gemara, who gave you a clear head? The Eibishter gave you a clear head. So what are you bragging about? The Eibishter gave it to you. Yiddish Shemayim, a person has to build himself. A person has to build Yiddish Shemayim, has to come from in the person. It's a Moededik word. We talk about this in the Maim Mitzvah Anila Doide V'Doide Li. We learn the Shabbos Maim Tashim Mem Tes Moededik Inyan. It's like sort of counterintuitive. But Yida comes from inside the person. Ava comes from the outside, from the Eibishter. So therefore, he says, when it comes to Yida, La'olam Ye'orim, knock it. Everything else you have to be Bahaster, Haster Leches. Because what are you bragging about it? It's not yours, it's from the Eibishter. But Yida is Hakol B'dei Shemayim chutz Yiddish Shemayim. Yida has to come from you. So therefore, you don't have to hide it. You can be Orim B'Yida. You could take off. You could take off the levush. You could be naked. You could show off the nakedness of the Yida. You could show it off. Gibakuk. I went into Chodesh Elul and the geblasen the shofar. Ves Elikim ani Yodei. Okay, let's try to just finish the words of Abaya. Manarach Yosef Chema. That a person, if you want to diffuse a situation that's getting heated up, just talk softly. You should speak nicely, even to Goy. Like it says in Pirkei Avos, culture ruach habriyas neichaman ruach hamakom neichaman. This is where you make a kiddush Hashem Shemayim. That he said always Shalom Aleichem first to the Goy. The Taz fragt, versteht sich, that's a chadin otzen, that you're supposed to say Shalom to the Goy first, because otherwise, the meaning of those days, we said some Shalom, the person answers would say Shalom Shalom, you're not allowed to say twice Shalom to the Goy. The Taz is in your day, he answers that even a Goy that wouldn't have said Shalom to him, he said Shalom to the Goy. He gives other tirutzim. I think about this for a moment. Think about this at Rabbi Yochanan. In Rabbi Yochanan, we spoke about this in the Sunday Shir, Rabbi Shana Lomad, Rabbi Shana Limid. Rabbi Yochanan was the one that established Yavne B'Chechmel to be able to reestablish Yiddishkeit. The Judaism, the way we know it today, is established by Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. After he was lived in the time of the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Yidden were in the most destitute situation. He was like the captain of the ship in the most stormy period of Jewish history. So, and yet, don't you think Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai had things on his head when he was walking B'shuk? You think he was just singing 99 beer in the wall, 99 bottles of beer? Rabbi Yochanan, the cup, he was busy. Rahman al-Islam, Yidden were being tormented all over the world. So given a zeit from the Churban, when he had to establish Yiddishkeit, he was one of the shalshelas of the Kabbalah of the Torah up to Moshe Rabbeinu. Mistamet gehad Sachen in Kop. He was Molev V'Godesh Yom V'Layla busy. Never happened once. He walked in the shuk, and a goy was weiß nicht the goy, and the goy can nicht. It's not even a shower. The goy might say shalom, and goy follow shalom. Avas Habrius that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai had. He loved every human being. He made an unbelievable Kiddush Hashem. And that's what the Abaya says. Now, a person always has to be Odom B'Yidin. It's not my fault to make Achil Hashem, the God, but Yid has to think about this, that when a Yid is dressed this way and he has a beard and a yarmulke and he goes around, that the Goy sees this is the representative of the Rabbanu Shalom. Mamela, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai showed Avas Habrius to every person that didn't happen even once, that a Goy managed to say hello to him before he said hello to the Goy. That we should always be from the Mazakei Rabbim, to make a Kiddush Hashem. We should be zeichet to the days that Molo Oretz Deis Hashem Kamayim Liyom Machasim.
Amen.
I was once heard there's a Jew in Germany.
Yeah.
Come out to work exactly the same time when he come out to work. His neighbor is a German. Come out to work exactly the same. The Jew would say good morning to the German. The German would not answer to him for a long time. He didn't give up. He always told him that. And one day they catch all the Jew, and he's the one, this neighbor, he was the one that's saying, you go to the right, you go to the left. When he came to him, he said, oh, you are the one that told me everything, good morning, go to the life.
Wow.
So the Shalom Aleichem, the good morning that he told him every day, saved his life.
Okay. Maybe we should always be making a Kiddush Hashem. And we should be zoichet to see that the whole world should be fulfilling their purpose. Achsidu Masaylam should be doing their business. And the other one is Chafer Atzosa v'Kalkal Machshavtim Yu Kemoitz Lifnei Ruach.
Amen.
Shukayach everyone for joining us. A gute Nacht.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you.